Hey guys, welcome back. I'm super excited to have Anna Goodwyn back with me again today. Anna writes and produces videos and such through Just Making It Work and has just a great ministry to families. She joined us last year at Teach Them Diligently, and it was so fun and so awesome to get to hang out with her a little bit there. So, Anna, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much. I've really been looking forward to this.
Yeah, I love it. And I really like what we're going to be talking about today. And, just recognizing that things don't always go according to the script that we may have in our heads and how we navigate that and how we allow the Lord to lead our families. I think it'll be a really great conversation, and I'm excited to dive in on it. Um, you know, you, as we were talking before, I know that you are a second generation homeschooler. You have navigated some twists that may have been unexpected. Can you share a little bit of your story with all of us, where you had to pivot in your homeschool journey, how the Lord used these things just to kind of set the stage for some of the things that he taught you?
Absolutely. So yes, I am a second generation homeschooler, which, brings some familiarity for me, but nothing prepared me for the work that the Lord was going to do in my life personally in the homeschool journey. So yes, I was a second generation homeschooler, but I was not prepared for what he was about to do. We our children were 5, 3, and newborn when I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. We had been called to homeschool. So the Lord was about to show me how to pivot when life takes a turn. And the comforting thing, though, is that God knows us so intimately. He knows our weaknesses, our potential. He has a plan for us. And in his mercy, he provides these opportunities for us to know him better and to be able to carry out his will and his way. So 17 years ago, I was diagnosed with this autoimmune disease. And the Lord put that desire in us to homeschool. So even though I was diagnosed with it, we did not deviate from that plan. We pivoted, we adjusted. And
Yeah.
so this pivoting, if I could define it for us real quick, what I'm referring to. So the Oxford Dictionary says that it is to turn on, or as if on a pivot, to completely change in which one does something, to begin to run or manage in a completely different way. So I kind of see it as like a planted foothold where you're swiveling in how you're doing it, but you are still focused on that goal and not deviating from it. So circling back to that moment, in our homeschool, we felt called to do it, yet we were not going to deviate from it just because we were diagnosed with something that was going to dramatically change our homeschool. Can I give you a little bit of a background as to why this impacted me so much? So I'm a recovering type A personality, and in his mercy, the Lord rocked my world with this chronic illness. He stripped me of everything that I was clinging to for security, false security, the control, the predictability, the energy, that clear thinking, my health. And really what it came down to is that my health had become an idol to me. I didn't realize that. But now looking back, I am so thankful that the Lord has given me this clearer picture as to what he's doing in the big picture. So you fast forward, and our family has benefited from this turn of events because it's been very clear to me what my priorities are. Because when you're in survival mode or crisis mode, like when you have a chronic illness, you have very, very limited energy and capacity to work with. So I had to be really smart about how we were spending our time and where my efforts were going. I had to lower my standards a lot. And for a perfectionist, that's really hard.
That's asking a lot. Yeah.
Really, really hard. But the beautiful thing about it is that my home management standards have been lowered. That means that my house doesn't have to live up to these crazy these crazy standards and expectations. We can truly live in our home. We can make the messes. We can be creative, because I see it as there is life being lived in
Mhm.
my home. We're expanding on my children's interests and their bents. And prior to this, it had to be perfect in order to
Yeah.
function. And I was bound by that. And
Wow.
the Lord, in his mercy, stripped me of that capacity. Um, and I've also learned how to take care of myself. I know as moms, it's sometimes hard to put ourselves first, but it is crucial
Yeah.
that I am taking my supplements, that I'm eating well, that I'm resting, and that I'm investing in me, and therefore my family is benefiting from this self-care that I now realize that I have to give myself.
Yeah, and that is so awesome. And I love the definition that you gave of pivot, and how you noted that there's that plantedness. There is that, that, so your mission all this year for Teach Them Diligently, our theme is mission is greater. So, our mission, which is to parent our children well, to bring them to Jesus, to prepare them well, that stays in place.
Sure.
And that's greater than my health, my expectations, my plans, my independence, even. That mission is what the focus has to be on. And it gives you great perspective on these other things.
Yeah.
And like you noted, which I also loved, God so often uses the ripping away of some of those other things that we would have never understood as an idol, or never, ever even considered as an idol. But
Right.
sometimes God has to kind of remove those so that we can see them for what they were, and allow him to work through those situations, which is a great time of growth for us and for our kids as we're leveraging what God is teaching us on their behalf.
Yeah, absolutely. And big picture is this is for our good and his
Yep.
glory. Yeah.
Yep. So, why do you think that it's so important then for homeschooling families,
Mm.
really all families, but we're speaking specifically to homeschooling families here, to be open to the pivoting when life takes these unexpected turns?
So our relationship with God is very personal and very intimate. And he is using these so-called challenges and these opportunities to pivot and to turn for us to know him, to rely on him and his creativity and his strength and his wisdom to be able to carry it out. And he loves us so much
Mm.
to meet us where we're at, but he loves us too much to leave us there.
Yeah.
And, we're doing our best to make the plans, to create the most beautiful routine, to spend quality time with our children and one-on-one time with our spouse. We're homeschooling from conviction. We're answering the call to adopt. We're starting the family business. We're breaking that cycle, right? Yet God is ultimately in control, and he's going to use these challenges to ensure that his will is accomplished, that he is
Mm.
known, and that he is glorified. So we're doing our best. And it reminds me of Proverbs 16:9, where it says, the mind of man plans, but the Lord directs his steps. And that should bring us comfort, but it's often uncomfortable because
Yeah.
we kind of hold on to what we want really, really tightly. But the big picture is this is how the Lord is communicating with us. This is how he is showing himself to us. This is where we see that he sees us, and this is out of a love towards us in a very, very personal way. But we can misinterpret that redirecting and that tension because it is so uncomfortable. And so oftentimes we can feel like we have failed as parents when it's like, oh, called to do this homeschool thing and it's nothing like we
Yeah.
expected. So we either feel like we failed, maybe we feel like we've heard wrong, but the challenge is to just pivot versus pass up what God is going to do through these struggles by redirecting us. In Genesis 1:27, it says that we are made in his image. God is creative.
Mm-hmm.
We can be creative because he is creative, and we get to experience him through the ideas that he gives us. And we can meet these challenges with anticipation of seeing him work. And we also have the opportunity to experience his strength, as it says in 2 Corinthians 12:9-10. I would love to read this because
Yeah,
These
absolutely.
verses are wonderful. It says, he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses and insults and hardships and persecutions and difficulties, for when I am weak, then I am strong. So
Mm,
why do we need to pivot? Because this pivoting is ensuring that we are carrying out his callings with his strength, and we are able to experience him and know him more. So when we are pivoting versus passing up, we are allowing the Lord to grow us as a person. This is an opportunity to die to self and to learn new ways of doing things. So for me personally, through this process of surrendering what I thought our homeschool would look like, a nice, perfect, tidy house, clean, of course, right? And have
obviously.
all the
Yeah.
energy in the world to do all the amazing things that I thought needed to be in place in order to have a successful homeschool. But through this, I've discovered family style learning. I can
Mm,
teach all of those ranges and ages of children together and these family subjects. I've accepted that I can't do it all, that I can outsource. And outsourcing doesn't equate to me failing as a homeschool mom. That just means I am smart and taking advantage
right.
of the resources that are in our community, where excellent instruction can be given to my children. And I can use that as a support
Yep.
in my homeschool. So the Lord has really shown me that his way is the best, and
Hmm.
so many creative ways that he has shown me that our homeschool can be successful, and it's not all reliant on
Right.
me.
Oh, absolutely. And, we have a very personal God who loves us individually, loves our children individually, gives us great insight as we
Mm,
seek his face and draw near to him. The Bible tells us to abide in him, to
yes.
be so close that we know his heart.
Yeah.
And as we do that, I
Mm,
think that a lot of times, sometimes I think in the weeds, we don't see exactly how he's directing us. We just keep walking in obedience. But God is so good because we're able to look in our rearview mirror at some point and be
mm,
like, wow, God did this, and this through these just little random ideas that were, kind of the Holy Spirit whispering, impressing
right,
upon our hearts.
right.
And so it's those little acts of obedience, those little pivots all along the way, sometimes big pivots, but a lot of times you're going to find that these pivots can even be very small things.
Right.
Because I know you have had some much bigger pivots for all the reasons that
Yeah.
you've already mentioned. What are some of the signs for those who are listening and who may not have, like these massive things,
Sure.
but they're recognizing these little things, or they're kind of wondering about some of these little things? What are some of the ways that God leads his people, and how can we recognize some of these signs?
Absolutely. These little cues that the Lord gives us is often a little bit uncomfortable. I'll just
Yeah,
say it that way.
true.
So sometimes there may be some tension. Maybe you're dreading the day. Maybe you can't stay on top of things, or you're just kind of going through the motions. So these cues are not there um, as indicators to say that you've answered the call wrong, or you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. These are those indicators that the Lord wants to use his wisdom and his insight and his creativity, so that you do have that successful homeschool. So if it's like a logistical issue, maybe a routine isn't working, like your
Mm,
day is a little chaotic, and things are just not flowing, or maybe the curriculum isn't a good fit. So there's a little bit of tension during math, let's just say, because there always is, right?
that's right.
You
Math
know, do
always is. It's always our example. It's always the bad guy in the story.
Oh my goodness, it's so good. But we don't give up on our homeschooling just because
Right.
math is not going right. We are going to pivot. We're going to be firmly planted where we are, remembering that we are planning we plan, but the Lord is going to
Mm,
direct us. Sometimes it's a spiritual issue. So you may be irritable. You may be focused on negativity. You might be consumed by worry and anxiety. And oftentimes these are lies from the enemy, and we have
Yep.
to be aware of that because, well, the Bible even says in Ephesians 6 to put on the full armor of God to stand against the enemy's schemes. So we have to be in the word, which I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but we have to recognize that some of these are just lies in our head, and they will cause us to pass up versus pivoting, and we can limit ourselves and kind of shrink back. So we have to give ourselves space in order to create a routine for us as individuals to make sure that we are in the word. It is absolutely vital. So some of those cues are just spiritual, like
Mm.
my mind is going really unhealthy places. We are called to renew our minds daily. So maybe it's just you need to get in the word. And that could be in the morning. It could be late at night. It could be in the
Yep.
middle of the day. It can be with your kids all around you. We've done that for many, many years. And the Lord will meet us right where we're at. He is gentle with those with young. It could be relationship issues. Maybe there's tension, or maybe you're just feeling disconnected with a kid or your spouse, or there's arguing. So maybe it just needs to look like a hard conversation with your spouse.
Mm.
Maybe it needs to be just put something on the calendar for you to have time to talk together. It could be physical cues, like maybe you have a very low stamina, maybe you're irritable, maybe you feel drained, or you feel like you've hit a brick wall. It could be you just need to care for yourself.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to get that appointment on the calendar to go see the doctor, or maybe you need to carry through with the supplements that they told you to take, or walk every day like you should do, and prioritizing yourself. Because when we care for ourselves, we are in turn caring for our family. Um, it could be a new routine. Like if things are not
Yeah.
working well in your day, maybe you need to start your day with music or a game, just so you can build that connection with
Yeah.
your children first thing, because this is our homeschool and we have permission to make it look any way that we want. So if we're
And that's
sensing,
such a beautiful thing. Such a
yes,
beautiful thing to have
yes,
that flexibility. And you were going through all of those different, could be this, could be that, could be this. And as you were, I was like, or could be a whole bunch of those things, because as you multiply out, so a lot of our families, like you, like me, have larger families. You have several children. You have a lot of individuals that all are kind of moving together in this mission, but you do have individuals. So how have you found with your large family where, maybe you're seeing more disruption because you have so many individuals? How do you roll with that? Or how do you think that factors in?
Oh, it all goes back to our why. We have to have a reason for
Yeah.
our days. And Proverbs 29 talks about that. Where there is no vision, the people will perish. We have to know what we're running towards. And my husband and I were challenged in that several years ago at a Teach Them Diligently session. The speaker said we have to be running towards something in
Yeah.
our homeschool. And as homeschoolers, a lot of times we're just trying to run away from whatever type of education that we're used to, which is okay. But we also have to have something that we're running towards. So for us personally, that is discipleship, teaching a love of learning, having a present mom, a home where my children are seen as individuals, and having that
Hmm.
shared family culture. So these are the goals that I have in my day, to where all those moments in my day are working towards that goal. Our days have purpose and meaning. And so my strategy for that is I need to be in prayer. I need to be in
Yeah.
conversation with my husband. I need to hold my plans loosely. So if I notice that one of my children seems a little disconnected or a little off, I'm aware, and I can be sensitive to, you know what, we need to plan a one-on-one date
Yeah.
with this
Absolutely.
one tonight. Or, hey, you know what, we're going to set all these things aside for today. Let's go take a walk, or let's sit and read. I mean, there's so many times when it seems like we have to add more to our day, but so often it's like we need to like wipe the plate clean
Yep.
and just go back to the basics. We need to just sit and read with our kids and draw with them or connect with them in one way or the other. So yes, there are lots of needs in our home, but our children usually let us know. Like it's not something
Hmm.
that we have to try to see if we can figure out this, but they let us know. Either they're like super quiet and withdrawn, or they're acting out with behaviors, or they're super clingy, or there's behaviors, whatever. They let us know. And so, all these things that I can add into our homeschool, I have to look through that lens of our why. Why are we doing this? Is this activity, is this co-op, is this commitment going to align with our why? And if it does, we add it in. And if it doesn't, we want to make sure that we're not taking away from our family, that discipleship and that love of learning. We don't want to just fill our plates full with all the things that are out there, but we want to be seeking the Lord and what he has for us and our family in the different seasons. I mean, this can vary season to season, and what our family dynamics are. So it's just an abiding with Christ,
Yeah.
conversation with him and your husband, just to ensure that we're having a successful homeschool, making sure everyone's needs are met.
Yeah, absolutely. And that fits so beautifully within a heart schooling paradigm, because as a heart schooling parent, which everyone who listens here knows, this is what I believe all Christian parents are called to do, whether you utilize the tool of homeschooling or not. But as a heart schooling parent, you are going for the hearts of your kids. You are investing in relationships. You're building this deep relationship that is going to hold. I've had 2 get married this year. We still have deep relationships with them because of the investment that was done years before. But the way that heart schooling really looks and holds on to their mission is it really gives you a whole different set of benchmarks or different ways to evaluate your day. It doesn't necessarily look like the same rubric that somebody else is using. But if I'm going for a heart relationship with my child and the ability to point them to Jesus, the way that I'm going to gauge the effectiveness of my day or the success of my day is going to look different than somebody who's going for something else. And so it's important to remember that we're not judging ourselves by the same set of standards that other people are, because God has given us a very specific, very awesome mission. And we've got to keep our evaluation of how our day has gone in light of that through the lens of that mission.
Absolutely. Yes, I agree.
Yeah. And so I wanted you to share with us some practical steps that you have found through the years that actually enable you to pivot. A lot of people get overwhelmed. They are really, it's just easy at different seasons to get so in the weeds that you can't even find your way out. So how have you found, as the Lord, gave you some physiological reasons that you had to pivot, you had to address some of these things? What were some of the practical things that you've learned through the years that would be helpful?
So it all goes back to fixing our eyes straight ahead. As it says in Proverbs 4:25, let your eyes look straight ahead, fix your gaze directly upon you, and be steadfast in your ways. And in John 15:4, it says, to remain in me as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. Get in the word. At whatever cost, get in the word, even if it's just a little bit, even if it's with your little ones around you. That is super important, because this is how the Lord communicates with us. And take it personally when the Lord is redirecting you, because he sees you, and he is redirecting you for your good and for his glory. Educate yourself. That is another thing that is super important. In the public school teachers invest in their personal or their professional development. Why can't we, as home educators, invest in us? So that can look like for me, what that looks like is the yearly Teach Them Diligently conference. It is a go-to and a must for my husband and I. This is how we invest in ourselves as home educators. There's podcasts. You can read a book. There's YouTube. You can research, reach out to seasoned homeschoolers and just talk and ask questions, and allow yourself to be seen in that. And when we open up the conversation with others, I think we feel less isolated. We are able to recognize that, oh, you went through that too. Oh, this is normal. And it's hard. Let me tell you, as home educators, I mean, we're kind of countercultural, and we kind of feel like, well, if I'm choosing to do this, then I've got to have it all together. I have to have all the answers. And we really don't. And we're made
Yeah.
for community, and we're made to carry one another's burden. So it's good to open up the conversations with other seasoned homeschoolers so we can know we're not alone. And so just seeing other people's experiences gives us that peace of mind that, okay, someone's going to carry this with me, and we're going to brainstorm together, and
Right.
I'm not alone.
Well, and the power of talking to someone who's been there, done that can't be overstated. I mean, there is so much comfort in that. There is so much wisdom in connecting with people at different seasons, because we are called to, the older ones of us are called to invest in the younger ones, but you're going to be farther along than somebody. So you can always reach down. You can always invest in someone else, but you also always need to be humble enough to take the instruction and the counsel and the mentorship from someone who's farther along, because God in his wisdom created us to live in community, to live
Yes.
as a body that functions together. And it's such a wonderful blessing from him that he did.
Yes, I agree. And I encourage those listening that if you're a young homeschooler, I think, or a young homeschool mom, or just a young mom, you are not bothering a seasoned homeschool mom
No.
when you reach out. Oftentimes, they feel like nobody wants to listen to them. So it's like we have to step out as seasoned homeschooled moms and reach out to these young moms, and these young moms need to be vulnerable enough to reach out and start the conversation. So I have challenged myself in that we do have value, no matter what. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've graduated too, but I still feel like, you have graduated more, and you have some that are married, and I can learn from you. So we're always learning, but we always have something to give as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And God is just so good. We see his hand leading us through those pivot times, through those unexpected things, through planting us in community. And the world is so big, or so small now, rather. We can reach people who aren't anywhere near us physically. God has given us, like you noted, podcasts, membership communities like Teach Them Diligently 365, and Made to Homeschool, and others, where we can plug in and really benefit from the resources and stuff that is available all around us. Just a really, really awesome gift from God. We are running really low on time, Anna, but I want you to tell us a little bit about what God has called you to do through the ministry that he's given you, and kind of what all of that involves, so that people know how they can connect with you, where they can find you, and
Yeah.
kind of what you do to serve them day in, day out.
Absolutely. Yes. So my ministry is just Making It Work, and it really focuses on embracing your family that the Lord has given you. And he has given each of us the capacity to be creative, to love our families right where we're at, whether they have special needs, whether I have health issues. This whole mom brain thing, like I know that a lot of moms have this mom brain thing, and we like to push all the forgetfulness and everything on that. It's true. It's a real thing. It is a real thing. During pregnancy, there's this thing called synaptic pruning, where we lose this significant amount of gray matter to make room for learning more, for expanding our minds. So
Mm.
we have the capacity to think outside the box, to try new creative ways to just make it work within our homes. I'm also over at Made to Homeschool. This is an online homeschool community. It's that place where you wish you could just sit with seasoned homeschool moms and ask them all of these questions. I along with several other seasoned homeschool moms, have created an online community exactly for that. We offer resources and chats and printables and unit studies, and all sorts of resources for homeschool moms to connect in a safe and encouraging way.
Well, that is awesome, and we'll be sure that we connect all, or we list all of those links in the show notes, so it makes it really easy to find them. I assume you're on social media as well, so where can they find you there? It's just always good to hear it.
Yeah, so I'm on YouTube and Instagram and over at Made to Homeschool, and I'm also on Facebook as well.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, Anna, thank you so much for spending the time and sharing your story and how God has taught you so many things through these pivot times in your life. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome. And to everyone else, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. As you keep your eye on your vision that God has given you, that mission of bringing your children to Him, of training them well to follow Him, and of building those relationships with Him that gives you that platform, you're going to go through a lot of seasons where you really do have the choice of either pivot along with the way God is leading you or to pass up these great opportunities, as Anna noted. And it is so important that you stay the course, that you keep your eye fixed on what God has called you to do, and you joyfully pursue Him day in and day out. Get in His Word. I invite you in 365. We are going together through the Bible recap this year. Every single day, we're getting in God's Word together. We're discussing it together. We are meeting once a month together to really physically talk about these things. That is a great accountability tool that you can use. So I invite you to join us there. If that's not possible, just get in God's Word every day. You will find that it is life-giving. I invite you to pray scripture for your children, to really start allowing God's word to come alive in that way, and to use His words as the way that you're praying, because that's going to direct the way that you parent, the way that you see your kids throughout the day. God is going to use that so profoundly to grow you and them all along the way. So I hope that this has been a great help to you. I look forward to talking to you again. Make sure that you check the show notes to get all the links that we've talked about, so that you can dive in, check out Just Making It Work, Made to Homeschool, and all the other resources that Anna mentioned. So have a great, great rest of your day, and I look forward to talking to you again real soon.